Hello, welcome to Loom Weaving. First thing you're going to do is tie a piece of the white string to the first nail and continue to wrap around up and down on the loom. We're going to go about to nail, I believe, 7 here, so we're not going to warp the entire loom. Okay? So this is what you should look like when you're done, and when you get to the end, you're going to go ahead and tie a string right to the bottom string as well. Alright, this is the other type of loom, a standing loom. Both looms work exactly the same, they just look a little bit different. On this loom you can notice there's some dowel rods. We're going to keep the dowel rods here and here, so we're just working in this space. So if you wanted to make something large, like a big wall hanging, you could also put the dowel rod right here and you could weave over the entire loom. But for this exercise, we are only going to focus on this small area right here. In order to warp this loom, you're going to go ahead and tie a string to this top dowel rod, and then you're going to go ahead and take your string and loop it down around all of these slots. So you're going to loop it in, come around, come back up, and loop around, and keep on doing that until you get to the other dowel rod. This is what it should look like once you've warped the loom. Make sure you go ahead and tie a knot to the top once you've finished, and these strings should be nice and tight. Notice in here when I'm doing my warping of my loom, I come in and there's 2 strings within 1 slot. So make sure that you're doing it right and you get combinations of 2 strings for the standing loom. Alright, when you first get started, the first thing you're going to need is some yarn. You can find the yarn right behind you, back by the mat cutter. There's also yarn in the pottery room, so if you'd like some other yarn, you can go in there and check out what I have. You can weave with lots of different things besides yarn, including string, raffia, paper, other found materials, but for this sample we're going to use yarn. So you want to cut a piece off, not too long or you're going to have trouble keeping it in control, and you're going to go ahead and you're going to attach your piece of yarn to the same place where you tied the warp string. Go ahead and tie that on there real nice and tight, and you're going to find the other end of your string. Right, we're going to start with a really super easy stitch, which is just your basic under-over stitch. So you're going to go over, under, over, under, and then pull. Careful you don't get it hooked onto the nails like I did here, and then you're going to come back the other direction. One way to make this process easier is to add a tapestry needle to the end of your yarn. That way you can easily go over, under, over, under. So try that if you're having trouble with just your finger. And now you want to change directions. If your last string was over, now I'm going to go under and continue on. And pull. Okay, and make sure after every time you want to push that yarn up so that it sits right against the next row. Okay, and I'm going to continue doing that. Make sure as you continue to weave, you're really pushing the yarn up. You don't want to see the warp strings. Right? At this point, say I want to change colors. Right? The best way to do that is to cut off your string that you're using and tie a small knot with the other color. And eventually we will hide that knot so you'll never see it. Okay? Go ahead and tie that on and cut off the tails. Okay, and eventually we will kind of tuck this knot into the back once we have more yarn, and you'll never actually see it on the front of your weaving. Again, push this up. Continue to go with the over-under pattern for the entirety of the class, and then tomorrow's video we'll look at different types of loom weaving, different types of knots you can make, and variations on the over-under stitch.